Egg smoke.
One of the great things about Sic'Em365.com in the premium section is how many different analysts analyze a game prior to it and also after it. And one of those is J.J. Joe, Baylor Radio sideline reporter, color analyst, former Baylor quarterback, and he had his in from the game on Saturday night. I read it. It's unbelievably well. And J.J., thanks for your time. We appreciate your patience. And the one line, total systems failure, is what you described Saturday night. I don't know if I've seen anybody describe it better than you did.
Yeah, hey, Smoke, thanks. Hey, I think that's what it was. And trust me, I think I also put in there that, hey, look, I've been a part of one of those before where it just doesn't work out the way you planned. And, and unfortunately for our guys, man, and our coaches, I think that they ran into a buzzsaw for lack of a better term. And it wasn't that we just were mistake field, but we every time we needed to make a play or have something happen positively, we couldn't make the play, and they did. So it was a total systems meltdown.
JJ, one of the things I thought going into the game last week that was kind of different between Kansas State and Baylor through, what had been the exact same season where the records were the same and all that, was in the games where Kansas State could smell blood in the water, they hunted. And Baylor sometimes, and like West Virginia in particular jumps out to me, did not do that. And I think Saturday night was a personification of that. Is the minute that they smelled blood in the water, it was, just full steam ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the sign of kind of just that coaching staff and also a veteran team. If you look at what they were on defense, a lot of those players are upperclassmen, even if those guys transferred in from different places. They played disciplined football, and they did. When they kind of smelled a little bit of weakness, they attacked it. And then when they had an opportunity to take advantage of something, they did. And despite all that, I think I mentioned this as well, that it seemed like it was a huge gap, but it was 17-3 at half, which if you just get one score, then you have a game. And then it was even 17-3. They didn't make it 24-3 until I think it was a minute 53 left to go in the third quarter. So they did a good job, man. I think that Kansas State team, if they could play better than that, I'd be scared to see it, because it seemed like they spent the week in our coach's meeting room and they knew exactly what was coming, when it was coming, why it was coming, and how it was coming.
JJ, I'm no expert, but I think this Will Howard kid's got something to him, huh?
Man, he does. It's interesting. I saw Will. I think he came in a game of film I was watching earlier, and I think maybe he started a game. But I thought from a passing game standpoint, he gave him a better opportunity to compete at a high level than Adrian. Not that Adrian was a bad passer, because Adrian was 7 of 8 before he went out, but it just seemed like they were really well prepared. And it's interesting. After the game, I was talking to Elliot Coffey, and they were getting ready to do the post game, and I said, man, we haven't shown that many cat blitzes or corner blitzes this season, but they knew every time it was coming. They knew it, but we hadn't shown it like that. I'm like, I don't know how in the heck they knew it was coming. He said, JJ, we never run press to the boundary. And every time we ran press, we blitzed. And I was just like, you know what? I didn't think about that. But it's that kind of thing. They just knew it was coming, man, and it helped the quarterback. If the quarterback feels comfortable with the plan, and of course, when you can run the ball, it helps, but Will played a really good football game.
He seemed like, and JJ, I guess it's almost like this, you either have it from experience or instincts or eyes in the back of your head. He was always a half a step or a half a throw away, right, from being hit, sacked, whatever. He hasn't played that much. Is that just instinctive, what you saw from him?
I think so. I think, some quarterbacks feel it. They hear it. It's interesting. If you've ever been in the pocket, it's noisy. There's all this noise and breathing hard, and you could tell the guy's trying to come get you. And, and he did a good job of avoiding sacks. I think we may have gotten to Adrian once or twice, but we got close to him and just couldn't get our hand on Will Howard. Now, remember, he played quite a bit last year, so it's not like he's green, right? I think when Skylar Thompson got hurt, he came in, played a few games, so I think he got some valuable experience, and I think we're seeing that, this young man probably, that position is in good hands when Adrian Martinez leaves. So, he just had a really good game, man, and just did a good job of keeping them out of trouble, and that really helped their offense keep going.
And JJ, I don't know how many people may remember this, but he actually played at McLean 2 years ago because Skylar Thompson was hurt, and he was just more of a young pup. And he said after the game that was like motivation, that game had stuck with him because he got beat up, and that was a big win for Baylor and a bad loss for Kansas State. And so he got a little bit of redemption. And it seems to me, from hearing Kleiman, from hearing Deuce, like that loss a couple years back in Waco stuck with all those guys. And they were, as you can imagine, very happy with kind of getting a little measure of revenge on Saturday.
Yeah, you could tell. I think actually their linemen, because I missed it, but, J-Mo told me, hey, did you see their linemen came back out after the game with their shirts off and took a picture in front of the school board. So, I think because they tout themselves as a very physical team. And I think Baylor, I know especially last year, I think we proved to them that we probably were a little bit more physical of a team. And then we had the linemen coming back, and that's kind of how we were touted. And of course, we were defending champions and, all that. But nevertheless, they did some things, man. I mean, they couldn't stop our running game. This is what I wrote. This was so frustrating about me. They couldn't stop us, and it showed early. Everybody and their mom knew we were going to run that ball. And on that first drive, we were doing any kind of run we wanted to, and they knew it. And then they said, you know what? We ain't going to sit here and take this. We're going to change this. We're going to we're going to flip 4-man front. We're going to move on to snap. And they chickened us out of just continuing to run the ball. On the first drive, we gave our running backs the ball 5 times in the first drive. For the game, we gave it to them 16.
And how much included
and
shaping?
we were down by 2 touchdowns all the way to late third. So they did some good in-game adjustments that really kind of unsettled us, and I just don't feel like we adjusted as well. And once things got going kind of sideways for us, it just seemed like it wasn't going to be enough possessions to catch up at first, is what it seemed like.
So, JJ, as you look into this week against a TCU team that has found ways to win and continue to keep winning all season long, no matter how the game goes, how do you adjust going in if you are Baylor and trying to shake off your worst performance in years?
Yeah, I don't know what the team psyche is. I mean, I think after that game, because think about it, you had everything to play for. You had everything to play for on Saturday, and we no-show. And that team, our team had been playing, I would call, solid football. I mean, we had won the previous 3 games, actually, and offensively against West Virginia. We scored 40 in a loss, although, we turned it over a few times. So we were moving on offense, but I'll tell you, man, it's just been something. It's like as much as good as our 21 team played in high leverage moments, this team just hadn't been able to find it in high leverage moments. And that happens, man. You have a lot of talent back, but we lost too many. We just lost too many leaders. We lost them all at once. And this team is even though this team is not talent-wise, probably a 7-win team or 8-win team, from a leadership standpoint, this is a 7-win team. And I've been a part of those teams. And this weekend coming up, you have a team that was like us last year. Like, we're going to look in the mirror and say, like, man, I remember when it was like that. And I hope our guys have a little fight left in them. I really hope they do, because they're going to play a team that believes and knows they're supposed to win. And you're going to have to go take it. And I'm just not sure if our guys this year, ready to go take a game from a team like that, right? It not that they can't. I just don't know if we just have that fight and that discipline for 60 minutes to go get that done. I hope we do.
What does it say that Dave Aranda in the post game, and it's about the 15th time we've heard it, and I'm not trying to be flippant, said that there is still a constant tug of war among some of his players or within the team to be ready to play? Is that immaturity that he's also alluded to throughout the season? Is that entitlement? Is that just a lack of communication? You would think of anyone, he's got that philosophical ability to kind of read people. What is that? How frustrating would that be as a teammate?
You would think after 4 losses they had understood that by now. Yeah.
No, that's a good one. I mean, I think he's just he's at a loss. I mean, coach. I mean, he's a really good coach. I love Coach Rand. I mean, I think he knows which buttons to push. But sometimes it's like some children you have that you just like, man, how can I get that booger going? This team is one of those. This team is that middle child. I guess that baby child, I guess, for him, that number 3, right? He had that first child at 20, like, oh, my goodness. Then he had that great one, that middle child. Now he's got this baby that he's not sure how to handle. But, I think part of it is, Smoke, I think we can, if we look back on it, I think what we'll see is when you lose the leaders that you lost, maybe they just weren't, I hate to say it, maybe they just weren't with these guys. Maybe these guys probably needed one more year of somebody. Maybe they need one more year of Petrie, one more year of Bernard, just something so it can be ingrained. Because those guys had something ingrained in them, and it was many of them. It was 3, 4, 5 of them. And in that group, and not that this, I still believe Blake is the best quarterback for this team, although, people fuss about that. The loss of Gary, because of Gary's persistence to stick it out. Petrie stuck it out. Bernard had to stick it out through injury. JT Woods was he was a veteran that was around. Raleigh Tejada had to go through ups and downs and stick it out. He had a lot of guys that just had a little grizzle on them, man. And we lost all those guys at once. And I think this team doesn't have that gristle, that hard edge, right? They just don't have that. And that happens sometimes. That's not a knock. That just happens. And, that's why I said earlier on, I really appreciate programs that are expected to be good every year, and they are good because they don't lose that, whatever that is, that gristle that comes along with just kind of, if a team's going to beat us, they're going to have to break a couple legs, twist some ankles, have a couple concussions to beat us. And we're learning that. Hopefully we can finish this thing out strong.
J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor color analyst, Baylor Radio with us on 365 Sports. J.J., I asked you this, and obviously it was a bad night for Blake Shapen, but it was a bad night for everybody. Everybody woke up on the wrong side of the bed or pillow. He's the guy. Dave Aranda told a story yesterday when I interviewed him about he was up late Sunday evening when they were having family night dinners, whatever, coaches and family. He's walking out of the door with a bunch of young receivers. If people are frustrated with him, would you have brought in Kyron Drones for a little bit or not in the second half?
No, I think it's quarterback is a funny position, man. You guys know this, right? Mm-hmm. It's different. It's different. That's your lieutenant, your sergeant, however you want to look at it. That's your lieutenant. And once you switch him, you switch him. If you're not ready to switch him, that's why I don't like shoveling in quarterbacks and all that bull crap. If you're going to switch him, you better be ready to switch him. And I think with Blake, he wasn't playing as good, of course, as he wanted to play, and made that early mistake. But I think what really would have helped Coach Grimes and Sean, like they did, I forgot if it was the Kansas game, they had a package for Kyron. I think, and I'm not sure if we got away from it or we just not coming back. I like having something for Kyron that he knows he's going to have no matter what. And that makes it even easier for Shapen to digest. He may not like it, but he knows, hey, Kyron's coming in to do this. That gets Kyron in the game. So, but while it would have been easy to say, hey, we're going to give Kyron these snaps, and he was going to come in at the very end, but they ran the clock out. You just can lose the kid. You can lose Shapen. I don't mean lose him like transfer. I don't mean all that stuff. You can just lose him for the remainder of the season if you just go ahead and jerk him because, hey, man, you're not playing good, but none of us are playing good. So if you're going to do that, you just got to be ready to do that all the way around.
Yeah, because he was incredibly loyal with Charlie Brewer during that disastrous 2020 COVID year. And there was constantly chats, almost like the fan base turned on Charlie because Aranda wouldn't make that change. And I think it's because Dave knew that if whoever was coming in after Charlie, they were going to get mauled like a tiger, you know?
Yep.
And I know that frustrated a lot of people. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for being patient with us and coming on a little bit later than normal. We appreciate you. We'll see you Saturday.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
JJ Joe with us. Up next, Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Anything